And my father always says when you take the
I have a hard time
It was time to be fearless.
As the judge's eyes rise from his papers, my fate is verbalized in a short phrase. Mr. Schultz, you've made a terrible mistake and will now pay the consequences with 90 months in prison. The gavel drops. My teenage body is sent into a state of shock. The room is quiet enough for me to hear my mother's tears meet the floorboards. The judge's words were a broken record's lyric, repeating, 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 the lost echo of a bullet that was meant to take me out. The game of life had rendered me a loser. But the bullets fired from their tongues and the fences that lined their facilities provided me with enough steel to build a ladder. High enough to reach books abandoned on shelves, paper-thin pages allowed me to build bridges. My dream was to embody the definition of a champion. You see, a champion is one who persists through all struggle, who utilizes the power of perception to transform any situation. From prison to greatness, or quiet to opus, illiterate to eloquent. 7.5 years was the fire needed to awaken the seed in my chest. The ashes of the past nourished the present. A scared kid now has presence and confidence, which is what tells me I can accomplish this and anything so long as I believe the world is at my fingertips. Poetry has played an instrumental role in the way I tell my story. In this poem, I took you back to one of the most scariest moments of my life. The day I was sentenced to 7.5 years in prison. My palms were sweaty, my mouth was dry, and my teenage mind couldn't fully comprehend the words that were being said to me. To be honest, I felt like my life was over. Now, luckily, you just don't wake up one day with a 7.5-year sentence. There's a backstory. And sadly, mine isn't as uncommon as it should be. I began struggling in school at a very early age. At the age of 9 years old, my family moved from a quiet neighborhood in Gresham, Oregon, to a low-income neighborhood in Southeast Portland. At this point, things really started to change in my life. I went from a private school system to the public school system. Now, mind you, at this point in my life, I had a lot of energy. I'm sure you're all familiar with the term bouncing off the walls. That term is very accurate for how I was at this age. Now, sadly, my high energy levels were interpreted as a negative. And this led to me being sent to multiple psychiatrists, who then gave me multiple labels: ADD, ADHD, impulse disorder, and at one point, bipolar. You see, I didn't know what these labels meant, but I knew how they made me feel, which was stupid. So early in my mind, I decided that school just was something I wasn't good at. Now, this led me to seek validation and acceptance in many different areas. It led to me getting into a lot of trouble, and ultimately led me to the streets. At the age of 12, I was selling drugs full-time. At the age of 13, I was initiated into the gang. And to be incredibly brief due to time, I'm gonna tell you that this experience caused my family a lot of pain, as well as my community, and led to many poor decisions in my younger years. Okay, fast forward. I was just sentenced to 7.5 years, and I am now making my way through the justice system. I was sent to 4 different facilities before finally reaching the place I would come to call home for the next 5 years of my life. McLaren Youth Correctional Facility. Pulling into the gates, I felt a combination of anxious, nervous, and anxiety, all at once, hitting me all at once. So we're pulling to these gates, and for context, it's like going to a new school, but going to a school that has a really bad reputation. And you don't really know what to expect upon arriving or how you're going to be treated or how you're going to be accepted by your peer group. So I went to the living unit, the places where I'll stay, and I began observing how everything flowed, the interactions between the youth and the staff, trying to gain a general sense of how everything worked and what to expect. And I noticed something immediately. There was a group of older guys who were doing things a little bit differently. They were respected by both the staff and the youth, but they were taking advantage of the things that were around them. These guys were striving for more. These guys were going to college. So prior to coming to McLaren, I had decided that I wanted to leave the gang life. I wanted to do something different, but I didn't really know what that looked like. So I began hanging out with these older guys, and I began adopting some of their behaviors, how they walked, how they talked, how they acted, and I began to conduct myself a lot like them. Now, like I said, these guys were going to college. So needless to say, I soon adopted their value for education as well. But I still hadn't graduated from high school yet. So I began going after high school like I had never gone after it before. I was determined to graduate with my high school diploma. In 2012, I graduated with my high school diploma. Thank you. Thank you. But that wasn't enough. I wanted to go to college. So immediately after, I enrolled into Lane Community College. I also began taking advantage of all the groups that were being offered through the Hope Partnership, a nonprofit organization that offers vocational, transitional, and art groups to the youth of McLaren. So through that, I began taking classes on leadership, public speaking, art, native beating, anything that was being offered, I was there. I had adopted the mindset that I could sit through an hour of just about anything. So any seminar, any speaker, anybody that came, I was there. 2013, I graduated with my associate's degree. Thank you. But that wasn't enough. I immediately enrolled into Oregon State University. I had two good friends who had achieved their bachelor's degrees under similar conditions. There was no way I could stop. This past June, I graduated with my bachelor's in human development, as well as my bachelor's in sustainability. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm now taking classes through Portland State and studying social entrepreneurship. I'm also working on publishing my first poetry book and starting a small kombucha business with my best friend, right? I'm also helping teach a class, co-creating a curriculum called Vision Strategy Action, helping give back to the youth in McLaren and just kind of where I came from and helping these guys gain a clearer vision of where they're going in life, how they can set goals, and make the most of their time. So I've thought long and hard about what I want to leave this wonderful group with. And I think back on my sentence and to where I thought my life was over. I've came to know that my life has just begun. My life has just begun. And so often in life, we attach ourselves to these labels and we believe that we just can't do things. So I'm here to tell you guys this. You are already qualified. You are already qualified to take the first steps and gain competency in any area of your life. You are already qualified to start that new business. You are already qualified to ask that girl or that guy on a date. You are already qualified to do these things, my friends. You know your voice has power, right? At the count of 3, I want everybody in this room to say, I am qualified. 1, 2, 3. I am qualified. There's power in repetition. At the count of 3, I want everybody in this room to say, I am qualified. 1, 2, 3. I am qualified. You're an amazing group, and this has been an incredible experience to spend with you all today. Thank you.